There are moments in the life of a city when steel and concrete become more than simple construction materials. There are moments when infrastructure transcends its utilitarian purpose and becomes a statement of intent, a declaration of values, a physical manifestation of a community's willingness to confront its past and reimagine its future. The I-395 Signature Bridge in Miami, Florida, represents one of those rare moments. This is not merely a story about traffic flow or engineering specifications. This is a story about how cities evolve, how communities heal, and how bold architectural vision can serve as both practical solution and powerful symbol. Miami stands today at a crossroads of transformation. The city that spent decades defining itself through Art Deco facades, tropical beaches, and the constant hum of international commerce now faces questions about its identity that run far deeper than tourism brochures and real estate marketing. As sea levels rise and climate change threatens the very foundations of South Florida's coastal communities, as income inequality widens and affordable housing becomes increasingly scarce, as the city grapples with its complex history of racial segregation and urban renewal policies that devastated black neighborhoods, Miami must decide what kind of city it wants to become. The I-395 Signature Bridge, an $860 million infrastructure project that has fundamentally altered the eastern approach to downtown Miami, sits at the center of these questions. To understand the significance of this bridge, we must first understand what it replaced and why that matters. Interstate 395 has served as Miami's primary connection between Interstate 95 and the vital shipping channels of the Port of Miami since the highway system's construction in the mid-20th century. For decades, this elevated highway cut to the heart of Miami like a concrete scar, a physical barrier that divided neighborhoods, disrupted communities, and served as a constant reminder of how mid-century urban planning prioritized automotive mobility over human connection. The original I-395 corridor, built during an era when urban expressways were seen as symbols of progress and modernity, had become a source of environmental degradation, economic stagnation, and social fragmentation. The highway's most profound impact fell upon Overtown, a historically black neighborhood that once thrived as the cultural and commercial heart of Miami's African-American community. Before the construction of I-95 and I-395 in the 1960s, Overtown was known as a Harlem of the South. Its streets pulsed with jazz clubs where legends like Count Basie, Ella Fitzgerald, and Billie Holiday performed when segregation laws prevented them from staying in Miami Beach hotels. Small businesses flourished along the neighborhood's main corridors. Families built generational wealth through homeownership. The community was self-sustaining, vibrant, and proud. Then came the highways. Urban planners, armed with federal funding and sweeping powers of eminent domain, carved massive interstate corridors directly through Overtown and other black neighborhoods across Miami. The stated goal was modernization and improved transportation infrastructure. The actual effect was devastation. Thousands of residents were displaced. Homes were demolished. Businesses closed. The social fabric that had held the community together for generations was torn apart. The elevated highways that replaced the demolished neighborhoods became physical barriers that isolated Overtown from the economic opportunities developing in downtown Miami and the beaches beyond. Property values plummeted. Poverty and crime increased. What had been a thriving community became a symbol of urban decay. This pattern repeated itself in cities across America during the mid-20th century, from the Cross Bronx Expressway in New York to the construction of I-375 through Detroit's Black Bottom neighborhood. Urban highway projects systematically targeted communities of color for destruction under the banner of progress. The consequences of these decisions echo through American cities to this day, contributing to persistent racial wealth gaps, concentrated poverty, and spatial segregation. Miami's I-395 corridor stands as one example among many of how transportation infrastructure has been wielded as a tool of racial and economic inequality. By the early 21st century, the original I-395 structure had deteriorated significantly. Built in an era when engineering standards were less stringent and concrete technology less advanced, the aging highway required constant maintenance. Chunks of concrete periodically fell from the elevated structure, forcing lane closures and creating safety hazards. The highway's design, with its narrow lanes and limited sight lines, contributed to frequent accidents. Traffic congestion during peak hours turned the corridor into a parking lot, undermining its fundamental purpose as a transportation artery. From both a functional and symbolic standpoint, I-395 had failed Miami. The Florida Department of Transportation recognized that simple repairs would no longer suffice. The highway needed complete replacement. But this recognition opened a larger question. What should replace it? The state could simply build a new elevated highway following the same basic alignment, addressing the structural problems while perpetuating the social and urban design failures of the original. Or Miami could seize this moment as an opportunity for something more ambitious, something that would not only improve traffic flow, but also begin to heal the wounds inflicted by the original highway construction. Miami chose the more ambitious path. The resulting project, officially known as the I-395/SR836/I-95 Design Build Project, but more commonly called the I-395 Signature Bridge, represents a fundamental reimagining of what highway infrastructure can be in an urban context. The project scope extends far beyond simple bridge replacement. It encompasses a complete reconstruction of the I-395 corridor from I-95 to the MacArthur Causeway, including major improvements to the interchange with State Road 836, the construction of new collector distributor roads, the rebuilding of multiple access ramps, and most dramatically, the creation of a spectacular cable-stayed bridge that has become an instant Miami landmark. The signature bridge itself spans 1,025 feet across the heart of Miami, its twin pylons rising 330 feet above the street level. To put that height in perspective, the bridge towers stand taller than a 30-story building, dominating the Miami skyline from virtually every vantage point in the central city. The pylons lean outward at 54-degree angles, creating a distinctive shape that suggests both strength and grace. From these pylons, 62 cables radiate downward, supporting the bridge deck in a configuration that engineers call a modified fan arrangement. Each cable consists of multiple steel strands encased in high-density polyethylene sheathing, designed to withstand hurricane-force winds and the corrosive salt air of coastal Florida. The engineering challenges involved in building such a structure in Miami's unique environment cannot be overstated. South Florida sits atop porous limestone, which makes foundation work particularly complex. The bridge pylons required foundations driven 100 feet below ground level to reach stable bedrock. Engineers had to account for the region's high water table, which made excavation and concrete pouring operations exponentially more difficult. The tropical climate, with its intense heat, high humidity, and seasonal hurricanes, impose additional constraints on construction methods and material selection. Everything from the concrete mix to the cable coatings had to be specifically engineered for Miami's harsh environmental conditions. The bridge was designed by FIGG Bridge Engineers, a firm with particular expertise in cable-stayed structures and a reputation for creating bridges that function as works of public art. FIGG approached the I-395 project with an understanding that this bridge would serve multiple purposes. Yes, it needed to safely and efficiently move thousands of vehicles per day between I-95 and Miami Beach. But it also needed to serve as a gateway to downtown Miami, creating a powerful first impression for the millions of visitors who enter the city via this corridor each year. It needed to inspire civic pride among Miami residents, giving the community a landmark they could embrace as a symbol of their city. And perhaps most importantly, it needed to heal rather than divide, to reconnect rather than separate. The aesthetic vision for the bridge draws from Miami's unique character as a city where Latin American culture, Art Deco architecture, tropical landscapes, and maritime industries converge. The pylon's outward lean evokes the swaying of palm trees and ocean breezes. The cable's arrangement creates geometric patterns that echo the simplified forms of Art Deco design. The structure's clean white surfaces reflect Miami's abundant sunlight, causing the bridge to glow during daylight hours. At night, an advanced LED lighting system illuminates the cables and pylons with programmable colors, transforming the bridge into a canvas for civic celebration and artistic expression. During holidays, special events, or in support of various causes, the bridge can be bathed in whatever colors the occasion demands. This attention to aesthetics represents a significant departure from a utilitarian approach that characterized most American highway construction in the 20th century. For decades, engineers and transportation planners treated highway infrastructure purely as functional objects, prioritizing cost efficiency and traffic capacity, while giving little thought to visual impact or community context. The I-395 Signature Bridge embodies a different philosophy, one that recognizes infrastructure's role in shaping urban identity and quality of life. The project's $860 million budget reflects this expanded understanding of a bridge's purpose. Critics might question whether such expenditures on architectural flourish are justified. Supporters argue that great cities are built through investments in projects that elevate the human spirit alongside serving practical needs. Construction of the new bridge began in 2014, marking the start of a massive undertaking that would stretch across more than 7 years and impact virtually every resident and business in the Miami metropolitan area. The project's complexity demanded careful coordination between multiple government agencies, engineering firms, construction contractors, and community stakeholders. The Florida Department of Transportation served as the overall project sponsor, working in partnership with the Federal Highway Administration, which provided significant funding through various federal transportation programs. The design-build contract was awarded to a joint venture led by Archer Weston Construction and Amoya Group, a Miami-based contracting firm with deep roots in South Florida's construction industry. The construction process unfolded in carefully orchestrated phases designed to maintain traffic flow throughout the corridor, even as the old structure was demolished and the new one rose in its place. This requirement created extraordinary logistical challenges. The original I-395 carried more than 100,000 vehicles per day, including thousands of trucks serving the Port of Miami, one of the busiest cargo ports in the United States. Closing the highway completely was not an option. Instead, construction crews worked in sections, building portions of the new bridge structure alongside the existing highway, then shifting traffic onto newly completed sections before demolishing the old structure beneath. This approach required years of lane shifts, temporary ramp configurations, and traffic pattern changes that tested the patience of Miami commuters. The construction site itself resembled a small city. At peak activity, more than 400 workers labored on the project simultaneously. Massive cranes dominated the skyline, hoisting steel beams, concrete segments, and cable components into place. Specialized barges transported materials along the Miami River. Concrete trucks arrived in continuous streams to pour the foundations and deck structures. The work continued around the clock, with night shifts illuminated by powerful lights that turned the construction zone into an otherworldly landscape of shadows and machinery. The scale and complexity of the operation offer a reminder that modern infrastructure projects represent some of humanity's most ambitious collective endeavors, requiring precise coordination among hundreds of individuals, each contributing specialized expertise. As the twin pylons began to rise above the Miami skyline in 2018, the project started to capture public imagination in new ways. The distinctive silhouette of the cable-stayed design marked a dramatic departure from the anonymous elevated highway it replaced. Architecture critics praised the bridge's aesthetic boldness. Local media documented the construction progress with increasing enthusiasm. Residents began to recognize that something genuinely special was taking shape. The bridge became a subject of pride even before its completion, a symbol of Miami's aspirations to be recognized not just as a tourist destination or commercial hub, but as a city capable of creating world-class public works. The signature bridge's completion in 2021, followed by the final project elements in 2022, marked a transformative moment for Miami's urban landscape. But the bridge itself, impressive as it is, represents only the most visible element of a much larger urban transformation. The project's greatest potential impact lies not in the elevated structure that carries traffic overhead, but in what has been created at ground level in the space beneath and surrounding the bridge. This is where the story of the I-395 signature bridge intersects with the story of urban justice and community healing. From the project's earliest planning phases, community advocates, urban designers, and forward-thinking officials recognized an opportunity to address the historical wrongs inflicted on Overtown and surrounding neighborhoods by the original highway construction. If the old I-395 had divided and damaged communities, the new structure could be designed to reconnect and restore them. This vision led to creation of what would become Underdeck Park, a revolutionary approach to utilizing the space beneath elevated highways. The concept of transforming highway underpasses into productive urban space is not entirely new. Cities around the world have experimented with various approaches to activate these typically neglected areas. But Underdeck Park represents one of the most ambitious and thoughtfully executed examples of this strategy. The project encompasses more than 55 acres of land beneath the I-395 elevated structure, stretching from I-95 eastward through Overtown and toward downtown Miami. Rather than leaving the space as a shadowy wasteland of concrete pillars and accumulated debris, the design team envisioned a continuous park and public space that would stitch together previously divided neighborhoods. The physical transformation required extensive remediation work. Decades of neglect had left the area beneath the old highway contaminated with oil, trash, and deteriorated infrastructure. The soil needed testing and treatment. Drainage systems had to be completely rebuilt. Lighting infrastructure was installed throughout to address safety concerns. The highway structure's underside was treated with specialized coatings to improve acoustics and aesthetics. These unglamorous but essential improvements created the foundation for more visible enhancements. The park design incorporates multiple components tailored to serve diverse community needs. Athletic facilities, including basketball courts, soccer fields, and fitness equipment, provide recreation opportunities in a city where open space is increasingly scarce. Children's playgrounds offer safe environments for families in neighborhoods that had long lacked such amenities. Performance spaces and gathering areas create venues for community events, concerts, and cultural celebrations. Art installations commissioned specifically for the park add visual interest while celebrating Miami's cultural diversity. Native landscaping and shade structures make the space usable even in Miami's intense tropical heat. Perhaps most significantly, the Underdeck Park includes economic development components designed to create opportunities for local entrepreneurs and businesses. Designated spaces for food vendors, markets, and small-scale retail provide platforms for economic activity that can remain accessible to Overtown residents and other community members historically excluded from Miami's economic growth. This integration of economic development with public space represents a recognition that parks and recreation alone cannot reverse decades of disinvestment. Communities need both amenities and opportunities, both quality of life improvements and pathways to wealth creation. The community engagement process that shaped the Underdeck Park's design deserves particular attention. In contrast to the top-down planning approach that characterized the original I-395 construction, when government officials made decisions with little input from affected communities, the new project involved extensive consultation with Overtown residents and stakeholders. Public meetings gathered community input on desired amenities. Working groups brought together neighborhood leaders, urban planners, and design professionals to hash out details. Youth programs engage young people in envisioning the park's future. This participatory approach had practical benefits, ensuring the final design reflected actual community needs rather than planners' assumptions. But it also carried symbolic importance, demonstrating respect for communities whose voices had been ignored during previous highway construction. The economic impacts of the I-395 Signature Bridge project extend well beyond the Underdeck Park. Major infrastructure projects inevitably reshape real estate markets and development patterns. The question is whether those impacts benefit existing communities or simply accelerate displacement and gentrification. Miami has watched this dynamic play out repeatedly as neighborhoods like Wynwood and the Design District transform from working-class areas into high-priced destinations for galleries, boutiques, and luxury condominiums, pushing out longtime residents in the process. Overtown stands at risk of a similar trajectory. The neighborhood's proximity to downtown Miami, Miami Beach, and the Design District makes it extremely attractive to developers and investors. Property values have already begun rising as the bridge project neared completion. New residential and mixed-use developments have broken ground on parcels that sat vacant for decades. The same infrastructure improvements that promise to reconnect Overtown to economic opportunities also make the neighborhood more vulnerable to market forces that could price out existing residents. Addressing this tension requires deliberate policy interventions. Community land trusts that permanently remove properties from speculative markets can preserve affordable housing. Inclusionary zoning requirements can mandate that new developments include below-market rate units. Commercial space protections can prevent the complete displacement of existing businesses. Tax incentives can encourage development that serves existing residents rather than incoming gentrifiers. Miami's ability to implement and enforce such policies will ultimately determine whether the bridge project catalyzes equitable development or simply becomes another driver displacement. The project's impact on transportation patterns operates at multiple scales. At the regional level, the improved highway infrastructure enhances connectivity between Miami Beach, downtown Miami, and points west. The reconstruction eliminated bottlenecks that had plagued the corridor for years. The new collective distributor roads separate local traffic from through traffic, reducing conflict points and improving flow. The modernized interchange with State Road 836 provides smoother connections for commuters traveling between western suburbs and the urban core. These improvements have tangible economic benefits. The Port of Miami handles billions of dollars in cargo annually. Port Miami also serves as one of the world's busiest cruise ship terminals. Efficient ground transportation connections to the port are essential for both cargo operations and the tourism economy. The bridge project reduces travel times and improves reliability for these critical connections. At the neighborhood scale, the project's transportation impacts are more nuanced. The improved highway infrastructure primarily serves automobile traffic, which raises questions about equity in a city where many low-income residents lack car ownership. The underdeck parks pedestrian and bicycle facilities begin to address this gap, but truly equitable transportation requires comprehensive transit investments. Miami's Metrorail system, while useful, covers limited areas. The Metromover downtown circulator provides free rides but serves a small geography. Bus service often suffers from reliability issues. Complete streets that safely accommodate pedestrians, cyclists, and transit users remain rare in most Miami neighborhoods. The I-395 project includes some transit enhancements, particularly improved access to the Metromover system and better pedestrian connections between Overtown and downtown. But the project fundamentally remains highway-focused, reflecting policy priorities that continue to favor automobile infrastructure despite growing recognition that car-dependent urban development creates numerous problems from traffic congestion to air pollution to social exclusion of non-drivers. Future transportation investments will need to rebalance these priorities if Miami hopes to create truly equitable mobility systems. The environmental dimensions of the project present similar complexities. From one perspective, the new bridge represents a substantial environmental improvement over its predecessor. Modern highway design standards require stormwater management systems that prevent polluted runoff from flowing directly into waterways. The bridge structure incorporates sustainable materials and construction methods where feasible. The LED lighting system consumes far less energy than traditional highway lighting. The underdeck park's landscaping provides green space that absorbs stormwater, reduces urban heat island effects, and creates habitat for birds and pollinators. Yet infrastructure projects of this scale inevitably carry environmental costs. The construction process consumed enormous quantities of concrete and steel, materials whose production generates significant carbon emissions. The project facilitates automobile travel, which contributes to air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions. The very concept of building massive highway structures in an era of climate crisis raises uncomfortable questions about whether such investments align with sustainability goals. Miami faces existential threats from sea level rise and increased hurricane intensity. Every infrastructure investment should be evaluated through this lens of climate resilience. The bridge itself was designed with climate adaptation in mind. The elevated structure sits well above current flood levels. The foundations account for potential ground subsidence. The cable-stay design provides flexibility to accommodate movement and stress. Hurricane-resistant features ensure the structure can withstand the extreme wind loads characteristic of South Florida's most intense storms. These engineering considerations reflect Miami's growing awareness that infrastructure must be designed for a changing climate, not simply for current conditions. The cultural impact of the I-395 signature bridge deserves recognition as well. Cities are defined not only by their economic functions and political boundaries, but by their icons, the structures and places that capture civic imagination and shape collective identity. Think of Sydney and its Opera House, San Francisco and the Golden Gate Bridge, Paris and the Eiffel Tower. These structures transcend their practical purposes to become symbols of the cities they inhabit. They appear on postcards and in films. They serve as gathering points for celebration and protest. They embody something essential about their city's character. The I-395 Signature Bridge has begun to assume this iconic status for Miami. Its distinctive silhouette appears increasingly in marketing materials, social media posts, and artistic representations of the city. The bridge has become a popular backdrop for photographs, particularly at night when the lighting system illuminates the cables in vibrant colors. Proposals have emerged for the structure to be featured on currency, stamps, and official city emblems. This cultural significance matters. Cities need landmarks that foster pride and belonging, particularly cities as diverse and rapidly changing as Miami. The bridge's role as a canvas for light displays adds another dimension to its cultural function. The programmable LED system allows the structure to respond to events in real time. During holidays, the bridge glows in appropriate seasonal colors. When Miami sports teams make championship runs, the bridge displays team colors. For Pride Month, rainbow colors celebrate LGBTQ+ communities. When tragedies occur, somber colors mark collective mourning. This responsiveness transforms the bridge from static infrastructure into dynamic public art, a structure that participates in the city's ongoing life. Artists and designers have proposed more elaborate uses for the lighting system. Synchronized light shows choreographed music could turn the bridge into a performance space. Interactive installations could allow residents to influence the bridge's colors through mobile apps or other interfaces. Collaborations with visual artists could create temporary installations that reimagine the structure's appearance. These possibilities suggest how infrastructure can serve not merely practical functions, but also aesthetic and communal purposes. The project's workforce development aspects warrant attention as well. Construction projects of this scale require diverse skilled trades from engineers and equipment operators to welders, electricians, concrete finishers, and iron workers. The I-395 project design-build contract included requirements for workforce training programs aimed at creating pathways for Miami-Dade County residents, particularly individuals from economically disadvantaged communities, to access construction careers. These programs provided apprenticeship opportunities, skills training, and job placement assistance. While such workforce initiatives represent only modest interventions in broader patterns of economic inequality, they demonstrate how public infrastructure investments can be leveraged to create opportunities beyond the immediate project scope. The bridge project also stimulated economic activity through its supply chain. The massive quantities of steel, concrete, electrical components, and other materials needed for construction created demand that rippled through regional and national supplier networks. While much of this economic benefit flowed to large corporations and suppliers outside Miami, local businesses captured portions of the spending, particularly for services, equipment rental, and specialized components. The design-build contract included goals for small business participation and disadvantaged business enterprise utilization, though debates continue about whether such programs meaningfully shift economic power or simply provide window dressing for procurement processes still dominated by large established firms. As we consider the I-395 Signature Bridge's significance, we must grapple with questions about infrastructure investment priorities in a context of limited public resources. The $860 million price tag for the single project represents an enormous public expenditure. To put this figure in perspective, Miami-Dade County's entire annual budget for parks and recreation is less than $100 million. The county's Affordable Housing Trust Fund receives similar levels of funding. The entire annual budget for Miami-Dade Transit is approximately $600 million. A single bridge project consumed more resources than Miami-Dade County dedicates annually to operating its entire public transit system. This comparison illuminates difficult trade-offs inherent in infrastructure decision-making. The money spent on the I-395 bridge came primarily from state and federal sources specifically designated for highway construction. These funding streams cannot simply be redirected to other purposes like affordable housing or transit operations. Federal transportation policy, shaped by decades of highway industry lobbying and suburban political influence, directs massive resources toward highway construction while providing far less for transit, pedestrian infrastructure, or other alternatives. States distribute these federal dollars according to priorities that reflect political pressures and institutional inertia as much as objective needs assessment. Nevertheless, the scale of investment in the I-395 project invites reflection on whether Miami's transportation infrastructure priorities align with the city's actual needs. Miami ranks among America's most traffic-congested cities, but Miami also ranks among the most dangerous cities for pedestrians, with some of the nation's highest rates of traffic fatalities involving people walking and cycling. The city faces severe affordable housing shortages. Transit service remains inadequate across much of the metropolitan area. Income inequality continues to widen. Climate change threatens coastal communities with increasing flood risk. Each of these challenges demands substantial public investment. The argument for prioritizing highway improvements rests largely on economic development logic. The Port of Miami generates billions in economic impact. Miami beach tourism drives enormous revenue. Efficient transportation connections to these economic engines purportedly benefit the entire region through job creation and tax revenue. From this perspective, the bridge investment serves broad public purposes even if its primary function is moving traffic. Critics counter that highway expansion primarily benefits those who own cars and live in patterns that require driving, while doing little for transit-dependent residents concentrated in lower-income communities. They argue that comparable investments in transit, affordable housing near job centers, and complete streets infrastructure would generate greater social benefits more equitably distributed. These debates reflect long-standing tensions in American urban policy between growth-oriented approaches that prioritize infrastructure for economic development and equity-oriented approaches that prioritize investment in communities historically excluded from gross benefits. The I-395 project attempts to bridge this divide through its under-deck park component and community benefits provisions. Whether this approach succeeds in delivering meaningful community benefits alongside transportation improvements remains an open question that will only be answered through years of observation and assessment. The project's governance and decision-making processes also merit examination. Major infrastructure projects involve complex networks of institutional actors with varying degrees of power and accountability. The Florida Department of Transportation, a state agency, made ultimate decisions about project scope and design. Federal agencies provided funding and regulatory oversight. Miami-Dade County government participated in planning processes but lacked authority over the state highway. The city of Miami had minimal formal role despite the project's transformative impact on city neighborhoods. Various community organizations advocated for residents' interests with limited institutional power. This fragmented governance structure is typical of metropolitan infrastructure projects, but creates challenges for democratic accountability and community voice. Community advocates fought for years to ensure the project included meaningful benefits for Overtown and other impacted neighborhoods. The underdeck park exists largely because grassroots organizations and neighborhood leaders persistently demanded that the highway reconstruction address historical harms rather than simply perpetuating them. This advocacy represents hard-won progress, but also highlights the obstacles communities face in shaping infrastructure decisions that profoundly affect their lives. Residents should not have to wage sustained campaigns simply to ensure that public projects respect their neighborhoods and provide community benefits. More inclusive governance structures would integrate community voice into decision-making from the outset, rather than treating it as an afterthought or obstacle to overcome. The I-395 project's relationship to Miami's broader urban development trajectory adds another layer of significance. Miami has spent recent decades reinventing itself, transforming from a regional city known primarily for tourism and retirement communities into a globalized metropolis that attracts international capital, hosts major cultural events, and positions itself as the capital of the Americas. This reinvention has brought substantial economic growth, but also widening inequality and cultural displacement. The question of who benefits from Miami's growth and who pays the cost runs through debates about everything from neighborhood redevelopment to climate adaptation. The bridge project embodies these tensions. It provides world-class infrastructure that enhances Miami's image and functionality as a global city. It creates iconic architecture that burnishes Miami's reputation as a forward-thinking, design-conscious metropolis. But it also runs through neighborhoods that have not shared equitably in Miami's prosperity. Neighborhoods still coping with legacies of segregation and disinvestment. Whether the bridge ultimately serves as a tool for inclusive growth that lifts these communities or simply as another amenity that makes nearby land more attractive to outside investors depends on choices Miami makes about land use, housing policy, economic development strategy, and commitment to racial equity. Overtown's future crystallizes these choices. The neighborhood possesses extraordinary assets, including proximity to downtown employment, historic architecture, cultural heritage sites, and now improved infrastructure. These assets create opportunities for revitalization that could benefit existing residents through improved amenities, increased property values for homeowners, and new economic opportunities. But the same assets make Overtown attractive to developers and investors whose projects may price out existing residents and businesses, replacing community institutions with luxury condominiums and chain retail. Managing this tension requires intentional policy interventions to preserve affordability, protect residents from displacement, and ensure that development serves community priorities. Some encouraging signs have emerged. The Overtown Community Redevelopment Agency has implemented policies aimed at preserving affordable housing and supporting small businesses. Community land trust initiatives are acquiring properties to remove them from speculative markets. Historic preservation efforts protect culturally significant structures. Local hiring requirements for construction projects aim to ensure residents benefit from neighborhood development, but these interventions remain modest relative to market pressures. Overtown's transformation will test whether Miami can achieve equitable development or whether gentrification will follow familiar patterns of displacement. The bridge project's completion arrives at a moment of heightened awareness about racial justice and urban inequality. The murder of George Floyd in 2020 sparked nationwide protests and renewed attention to structural racism's manifestations across American institutions and spaces. Urban infrastructure emerged as one site of reckoning, as activists and scholars highlighted how highway construction destroyed black neighborhoods, how transportation systems fail to serve communities of color, and how infrastructure investment patterns systematically favor white and affluent areas. The I-395 project, with its roots in destroying Overtown and its current incarnation as potential catalyst for neighborhoods' revival, encapsulates this history. Addressing these historical injustices requires more than individual projects, however well-intentioned. It requires systemic changes in how transportation decisions are made, how community impacts are evaluated, how benefits are distributed, and how affected populations participate in planning processes. It requires acknowledgement that infrastructure is never politically neutral, but always reflects choices about whose needs matter and whose neighborhoods deserve investment. It requires honest accounting of how past transportation projects harmed communities of color and concrete action to repair that harm. The I-395 project makes gestures toward this reckoning through its under-deck park and community benefits. But genuine repair would require far more substantial investments in affordable housing, economic opportunity, transit equity, and community-controlled development. The technical achievement represented by the bridge deserves recognition, even as we examine its broader context. Engineering projects of this scale push the boundaries of what humans can build. The cable-stayed design required sophisticated computer modeling to analyze forces and stresses under various load conditions. The foundation work demanded precise understanding of soil mechanics and structural behavior. The construction process involved coordination among hundreds of specialized trades and careful sequencing of complex operations. The lighting and aesthetic elements required integration of multiple systems and technologies. The project represents a collective effort of thousands of individuals contributing specialized knowledge toward a shared goal. This technical sophistication stands in stark contrast to earlier eras of infrastructure construction, The original I-395 was built with comparatively crude tools and methods. Concrete was mixed and poured using techniques that seem primitive by today's standards. Structural analysis relied on manual calculations rather than computer simulations. Construction equipment was less powerful and precise. Safety standards were less stringent, leading to higher rates of worker injury and death. The advancement in construction technology over the intervening decades enabled the signature bridge's dramatic design, while also improving worker safety, structural reliability, and construction efficiency. Yet, technical capability alone does not ensure infrastructure serves public purposes. History offers abundant examples of impressively engineered projects that fail to benefit or actively harm the communities they supposedly served. The original I-395 represented a significant engineering achievement for its time, but inflicted lasting damage on Overtown. The question is always not just what we can build, but what we should build and for whose benefit. Technical sophistication must be paired with social consciousness, engineering excellence with ethical consideration, and architectural vision with commitment to justice. The I-395 signature bridge will be tested by time in multiple ways. The physical structure must withstand South Florida's harsh environmental conditions, including salt spray, tropical storms, and potential earthquakes from the Caribbean seismic zone. The cables and structural elements require ongoing inspection and maintenance to ensure long-term safety and reliability. The lighting systems and architectural features need care to preserve their appearance and functionality. Infrastructure typically requires life cycle investments that can match or exceed initial construction costs. Miami's ability to properly maintain the bridge will determine whether it remains a functional and aesthetic asset or gradually deteriorates into another crumbling monument to deferred maintenance. The social infrastructure surrounding the bridge faces similar maintenance challenges. The under-deck park requires ongoing funding for upkeep, programming, and security. Community organizations need sustained support to activate the space and ensure it serves neighborhood needs. Economic development initiatives require follow-through beyond initial announcements. Affordable housing protections demand enforcement. These commitments lack the drama of ribbon-cutting ceremonies, but ultimately determine whether the project delivers promised community benefits or simply becomes another example of unfulfilled promises to marginalized neighborhoods. The bridge's symbolic significance will also evolve with time. Landmarks mean different things to different generations. Structures initially controversial can become beloved over time, while icons of one era may seem dated to the next. The I-395 signature bridge currently enjoys widespread enthusiasm as a striking addition to Miami's skyline. But tastes change, and future residents may view the bridge differently than contemporary observers. The structure's meaning will be shaped not only by its aesthetic qualities, but by the role it plays in Miami's ongoing development. If the bridge catalyzes equitable growth that benefits working-class communities and communities of color, it may be remembered as a turning point toward a more just Miami. If it simply becomes another driver of gentrification and displacement, future assessments may be harsher. Miami's relationship with infrastructure reflects broader American ambivalence about the role of public investment in shaping society. The United States once led the world in infrastructure construction, building the interstate highway system, massive hydroelectric dams, transcontinental rail networks, and other projects that transformed the nation's geography and economy. This infrastructure enabled tremendous economic growth, but also carried enormous social and environmental costs, often borne disproportionately by marginalized communities. Recent decades have seen declining public infrastructure investment as political ideology shifted toward faith in private markets and skepticism about government capacity. The result has been crumbling bridges, deteriorating water systems, congested highways, and transit systems struggling with deferred maintenance. The I-395 project represents a partial reversal of disinvestment trends, a substantial public commitment to infrastructure renewal. But the project also illustrates infrastructure investment's limitations when disconnected from broader policy goals around equity, sustainability, and democratic governance. A city cannot build its way to justice through infrastructure alone. Physical improvements must be paired with policies that ensure benefits reach those most in need, that prevent displacement, that advance racial equity, and that prioritize environmental sustainability. Infrastructure is necessary but insufficient for creating just and thriving cities. As we consider lessons from the I-395 project, several themes emerge. First, infrastructure has profound social consequences beyond its technical functions. Transportation projects shape neighborhood boundaries, influence property values, affect environmental conditions, and either connect or divide communities. These impacts demand careful consideration and should be evaluated alongside traffic volumes and engineering specifications. Second, historical context matters. The I-395 corridor's history of destroying black neighborhoods must inform contemporary approaches to reconstruction. Infrastructure projects offer opportunities to repair historical harms if undertaken with genuine commitment to community healing rather than simply perpetuating past patterns. Third, community voice and participation are essential. The underdeck park's relative success reflects sustained community advocacy. Infrastructure planning should center rather than sideline affected communities. Fourth, design quality serves public purposes beyond aesthetics. The signature bridge's architectural ambition creates civic pride and enhances quality of life in ways that utilitarian engineering cannot match. Investment in beauty, art, and iconic design represents legitimate use of public resources when paired with attention to equity and community benefit. Fifth, maintenance matters as much as construction. The challenge for Miami will be sustaining commitments to preserve and activate the infrastructure created through this project. Sixth, individual projects cannot solve systemic problems. The bridge project makes important contributions but cannot by itself overcome decades of disinvestment, segregation, and inequality. Meaningful progress requires sustained policy commitment across multiple domains from housing to transit to economic development.